Alright, and we're back. A little bit of a camera change. Little slight angle difference here. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, but my memory card on the GoPro filled up, so video cut out. But since I recorded that last little clip there, I had overnight to think about it, and a little bit today, I was thinking about what I wanted to do. And what I was talking about was cutting out part of the hood, which you might be able to see in here in Sharpie that I marked out. The thing I was considering was whether that would give me the height that I wanted, and I realized today, a little bit ago, while I was prepping for food, making my dinner, that there's a very easy way to figure out if it was what I wanted, and that was simple enough of just taking the hood off, and then attaching the steering wheel to the frame that's underneath it. And then that would be at the height that it's at, since I plan on attaching it to that frame. And once I realized that, I was like, oh, okay, I could just test it. So I pulled the hood off, threw the steering wheel on there, clamped it down, and it felt comfortable. It wasn't quite as low as I would like it to be, but it felt comfortable. I was pretty happy with how it is. So the plan is I will cut a hole into the hood for that. Well, what I can do is just cut what I need to cut out of this little square. And there's a metal frame reinforcement underneath where this line is traced out. If I just cut that out, I should be able to get the steering wheel to where the desk frame is, so that way it can clamp to it. Gotta say, you've probably seen it in all these videos. Roadkill gloves. I am extremely impressed with these. I got these Roadkill gloves as a Christmas present for my brother, and I assumed that they were going to fall apart within like a day of working in the garage. I've been welding with these, I've been grinding, I've been doing everything with these gloves as you've seen in the videos, and I can barely tell I've been using them. There's hardly any sign of wear on them. I'm quite impressed. To the point where when I need new gloves, I'm going to get another pair of these because, one, it's Roadkill, and two, they're standing up pretty darn good for work gloves. Alright, as you can see, hopefully, I gotta cut this piece out here. That won't be a whole lot of trouble, just gotta snip there. But I'll weld a piece of metal on here to bring it out. Just another piece, maybe two, of the square tubing, and it'll be perfect. Pretty successful. Not that much cutting, and it'll make everything a lot nicer as far as comfortability when driving using the racing sim. Another thing I mentioned was about elevating the pedals. I'm going to do that by building a slot for it to fit in there, and it'll fit elevated, and also try to put a spot for the cord so the cord doesn't get bunched up and wrapped up. But I think with that, it should be good. Alright, hello and welcome back. After that last shot where you saw me cutting a hole into the hood, you now see me here enjoying a nice beverage with the steering wheel firmly attached to the desk. And there's a little bit of a story behind that. While I was recording the bit after cutting out the hole in the hood, the GoPro just stopped all of a sudden, and I thought the battery had died. Turns out battery didn't die. What happened was I got a corrupt file on the SD card. I don't know how it got there, but this corrupt file kept the GoPro from recording any footage, and it also wouldn't let me delete any footage. I couldn't clear the GoPro SD card. I couldn't reformat it. Everything I tried manually going through the command window to reformat it. I cleared it through there. It said it cleared all the data. And then I plug it back in, and all of a sudden the videos are back there. So I tried everything I could think of, and I couldn't get it to work. And something you might notice, I won't know until I get this in post, but you might notice a little better quality. And that is because, as any logical person would do, I went to the store to get a new SD card for the GoPro so I can quick film what I need to film. And obviously, I made the next logical decision, which is to buy two, not just one, two GoPro sessions, which is what is filming right now. And I'm going to use that for action shots. I'm probably only going to ever use one at a time, unless I really want to do a certain shot from two angles. Right now I only have one SD card for it, so I can only use one. But I bought two session GoPros and a micro SD card, which won't work in the old GoPro because it's unless I use an adapter. So yeah, it's just how I work. Normal par for course for me. So go to buy an SD card, come home with two cameras. So with that, I'm going to catch you up on where I'm at and what we're going to do next. So I'll switch to that shot now after. Alright, as you should be able to see now, you can see what the steering wheel was clamped to, which is this piece of metal here that you see protruding out. And this does what I talked about, where it lowers it down a bit and allows it to sit a little lower. Actually, it sits quite a bit lower. It's a little more deceiving than it looks, because while you see the little gap there between the hood and the metal that it attaches to, you got to keep in mind there wasn't a hinge here. So I could have got a decent drop by just deleting the hinge, cutting out the hinge that was on here, or removing it. But I would have had to still attach to the hood surface instead of this, which I'll take the hood off in a second, which is attached to the frame. So without further ado, let's do that. As you'll see, I haven't attached the hood at all. All I've done is physically put it in place where I want it. So as you'll see, it's pretty stout where without any actual like bolts or welding. Have to give it a decent yank. Alright, but right there, this is a piece that I welded in, and I tried to match the angle of the cut I made in the hood. So I tried to match that angle and extend it out, and really this is all just welded on the top. As you can tell, I haven't got any better at welding. The good news is I haven't got any worse. So while it's not any better, I haven't made any like significant improvement, it's not any worse. So I'm not digressing, so that's good. There's that. The other thing is all the welding you see here on the top, that's all the welding that's holding in place. Two reasons for that. One is because, well, and the main reason, it's really easy to weld this up here. The other way of welding it is welding underneath, and then there would have been no seams on top. Well, there would have been seams from the individual tubes, but there would be no visible welds, which would have looked kind of cool, but I would have to unbolt this, flip it over, weld it. It's a whole lot more work, and I kind of actually like being able to see the welds, even though they're not that pretty. The other thing with it is really strong. If it wasn't for the weight balance, I could stand on that, no doubt in my mind. So if I put counterweight on it, I could stand on this, no problem. It is strong as strong can be, as you would expect with something with that much weld. So that is how the steering wheel is attached. And with that being said, and all those things going over, let's get to cutting the pieces for the pedals, which is the next thing I'll do. Is I'll cut those out, weld them in place, and that'll be the steering wheel assembly set up. Except for the shifter. I haven't thought the shifter through. There's always something. But I think with that, I'm kind of glad with this whole situation. I have better video quality now. I have more cameras, which is never a bad thing. And it gave me time to think. And whenever I think, it means more work for me. So, yay! Now we're on the very comfortable floor. And what we're going to do is, this piece I cut with the angles is the piece that's going to go underneath. So we'll align that like so, and then this piece is a piece that'll go on top, and we'll let the cord through, and we'll tack weld this here. Probably realistically only need to tack weld this. Same with that piece, since it's not structural at all. All it is it's going to have the pedals rest on it, and this is going to stop pedals from going through. So this one I might actually weld all the way across. Why? Because I can. That's about it. That's the only reason to do it. Realistically, all you need is maybe a little bead there and a little bead there, and it'll hold fine. But I'll overkill the shit out of it. Fortunately, now with that removed, you're going to see my fancy welding sleeves. Now, something I should have done well before, you know, really welding it in was tack after I tacked it. Oh, I screwed up big time. Oh well. Seems like this is going to be a problem for my future me to fix. Can any of you spot the issue already? Big clip. Well then. Well, this is awkward. Alright. Actually, I'm not even going to leave this to future me. I've already figured out what I'll do. Weld this the rest of the way in, finish welding it, and then take cut off wheel and cut all the way through. It's not going to look as pretty. Granted, nothing of this is looking very pretty. Nothing of this is perfect, but not going to look as slick as if I had it running through here. The good news is there's no good way of doing it. Just a slight oversight in my grandeur of thought. I was originally thinking, I was like, I'll drill out a slot big enough for this to fit through, and then somewhere in my brain I lost that key piece of information and just drilled that little slot in there and didn't worry about, you know, giant plug end. Alright, well, let's get back to what we were originally going to do. Alright, something else quick is it's actually showing my family the setup and with the steering wheel and everything. And they pointed out, well, why don't you move the shifter? Because I had the shifter just on the desk surface. They mentioned, why don't you just have the shifter, and I don't know why they suggested up here. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense for a more logical location. However, I said, that's not a terrible idea, because it's always usually mounted right next to my steering wheel, which isn't a very logical place to put it. Occasionally I find myself, when I'm going to shift, that I'll hit my hand or something like that, and it also doesn't feel very natural as far as realism. So what I'm thinking is I'm actually going to move it down here. So where that clamp is where I'm feeling would be a nice place to put it. If I get myself in the position here, I got my pedals, everything, and then racing, down here, shifting. It feels very natural. I can shift through everything. I don't need to look at it. It just feels natural. Sure, it's a little longer of a reach, but it feels more natural to go down here. So what I'm going to do is actually adjust that. So what I'm going to do, as you can see here, is I'm going to build out about 3 inches and then have a piece wide enough for it to clamp down on. So one issue that will be with this is I will have to be, and I'm sure I'll get used to it in time, but if I'm not thinking about it, I could end up bashing my knee off of this. So I'm going to make sure that there's no sharp edges on this, because that'll end poorly. So
okay, now that we have that shifter figured out, we will end the episode here and continue on building that shifter mount in the next episode. And with that piece, that'll be the end of the sim racing rig being put together, and the next step after that will be working on fenders. So look forward to that in the next episode. Bye-bye.